Today, Tulio, Aiden, and I will examine climate change with an economic lens. We will first analyze the historical and future economic consequences of unrestrained human-induced climate change.
Next, we will discuss several solutions to warming and their financial costs.
Finally, we'll explain what happens economically when those changes are implemented.
Oh yeah.
Let's take a look at the historical impact of climate change. Since the 1960s, human-induced global warming by itself has increased inequality within countries by an average of 25%. The future of our world with climate change is not pretty. Let's look at what happens if we let climate change continue unchecked. Under the current trajectory, global GDP could be 11 to 14% less by 2050 than in a world without climate change. The World Bank estimates that climate change will push 132 million people into poverty in the next decade. To give you a sense of the scale, that's almost half of the current population in the United States. Extreme weather events like heat waves and floods stemming from climate change disrupt food systems and make it harder for people to access healthcare and social support structures. While people with higher incomes can just purchase air conditioners, food even with soaring prices, and move away from climate-sensitive areas, the disadvantaged are left to suffer from malnutrition, waterborne diseases, and displacement. While the richest countries are the greatest source of human-induced warming, it is the poorest countries and their citizens who bear the brunt of the consequences. Okay, done.
Nice.
Awesome.
So now what?
Is our planet still worth saving?
Can it even be saved?
Dun, dun, dun,
I love living in the city. It's so great to get out and see some nature here at Riverside.
Yeah, I agree, but I can't imagine what life would be like if I couldn't look at all these pretty trees.
Hey kids, I happen to know that something like that will happen if we don't act fast.
Who the fuck are you?
Just a guy trying to help out humanity.
Sustainable.
Wait, you think we won't have trees in the future?
Not quite, pal. But it's not looking too good, let me tell you.
Tell us more, sustainable savant.
Say less.
Oh, I remember this. The 2015 Paris Climate Change Summit.
Didn't they say something about pledging to keep the temperature below a 2 Celsius increase by 2050?
That's exactly right, kiddo. On top of that, they set a goal to keep it within 1.5 Celsius.
Oh, really? How's that going?
Funny you ask. My buddies at Nature did a study on exactly that.
Ah, yes. I remember reading about this study. The study estimated the amount of fossil fuels needed to be cut out in order to realize the 1.5 Celsius goal.
Precisely. They found that by 2050, 60% of oil and fossil methane gas and 90% of coal must remain untouched to keep within the 1.5 Celsius carbon budget.
Oh yeah, and they use global energy systems, which are predictive models, to find that number. Each year, oil and gas production must decline by 3% to reach that goal.
All right, but what does that mean for those industries?
I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. These industries would have to peak now. For the goal to be met, it's all downhill in terms of production for these massive industries.
Lots of that actually happening?
It's gotta be low, right? I mean, these companies definitely have plans in place happening now, and within the next 30 years, they'll be hard to stop. On top of that, there are necessary negative emission technologies needed to be implemented for all of this to work.
You know your stuff. Let me drop some more bad news. The study says that their estimates have a 50% chance at working at all. Therefore, we could all be doomed already. Until then, though, let's enjoy what we got.
We've seen ways that we can fix climate change, but then what? What do we do once we've reduced our carbon footprint, minimizing pollution? Well, reducing our carbon footprint has some negative side effects, especially for economically developing nations. These nations rely on factories and industrialization as a driving economic force. So when we take that away, we have to give something back.
Introducing the Green Climate Fund, GCF for short. It's a huge international fund controlled by the UN.
It'll be distributed to countries to help them mitigate the economic downturns they may face as a result of decreasing their carbon footprint. First of all, we have to decide how much money each country should donate to the fund. If a country donates too much money, they'll face economic repercussions, making the problem worse.
We also have to look at the different needs of countries. Economically developed countries like Norway have very different energy and carbon needs than economically developing countries like Madagascar.
Each way we distribute the fund has pros and cons, but we can draw some general conclusions. For example, investing the fund in increasing energy efficiency in developing countries is proven to minimize the welfare loss. We also should consider a country's vulnerability to climate change.
There's no one easy solution for fighting climate change. There's also no easy fix for our economies once we've done just that. But by taking a holistic approach forward, we can pave the way for a better future.